The Whistler, a haunting encounter in Florida. Welcome back to another real-life horror story. Tonight's tale comes from Florida, where a strange sound in the night turned a peaceful evening into something unforgettable and terrifying. In 2015, a teenager named Brian was visiting his grandparents in a small town surrounded by marshlands and thick woods. One night, while sitting on the back porch with his dog, he heard a faint whistling sound coming from the trees. It wasn't a tune or a bird call. It was slow, uneven, and almost human-like. At first, Brian thought it might just be the wind. But then the whistling grew louder and closer. His dog, normally brave, started growling low in its throat and backed away toward the door. Curious but nervous, Brian stepped off the porch, shining his flashlight into the darkness. Nothing. Only the thick, suffocating blackness of the woods. Then the whistling changed. It wasn't coming from one direction anymore, it surrounded him. Like several people were standing just beyond the tree line. Terrified, Brian ran inside, locking the doors behind him. But for the rest of the night, he and his grandparents heard soft, mocking whistles echoing around the house, as if something or someone was walking in circles outside. Later, Brian found out that in local folklore, the whistler is said to be a spirit that mimics sounds to lure people into the woods. And once you hear it, it never really goes away. Even years later, Brian swears that sometimes, when he's alone, he can still hear faint whistling behind him. Second one is the basement door, a true haunting from Michigan. In 2009, a young couple, Mark and Emily, moved into an old house in a quiet Michigan neighborhood. The place had charm, original wood floors, antique doors, and a deep, dark basement they used for storage. But from the first week, strange things started happening. The basement door, which they always kept shut, would often be found wide open. Thinking it was just a draft, they installed a heavy lock. Still, somehow, the door would be open again, even when the lock was untouched. One night around 3 a.m., Emily woke up to the sound of slow, heavy footsteps coming from the basement stairs. She shook Mark awake. Together, they crept toward the basement door, only to find it once again ajar and the sound of footsteps stopping just behind it. Mark mustered his courage and flung the door open, shining a flashlight down the stairs. Nothing. But the feeling of being watched was overwhelming, thick enough to make the hair on their arms stand up. The couple moved out just 6 months later. The landlord later admitted that the house had a dark history decades ago. A man who lived there had vanished without a trace, last seen entering the basement and never coming back out. Some say his spirit still roams those dark, narrow stairs, opening the door, hoping someone will come down to join him. Would you have stayed in that house after the first strange incident? Comment below, I love hearing your thoughts. And as always, like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more real horror encounters. Until next time, keep your doors locked, especially the ones leading downstairs.